Hello and welcome. You already know what it is. New week, new stories here on the Bay State Banner Weekend Review. I'm Brushay Williams, and as always, we're here bringing you the stories shaping Boston from the ground up. We start this week with the Edgar Benjamin Healthcare Center, who is once again at the center of community concern. A public hearing held by the Department of Public Health last week gave residents a chance to weigh in on the pending sale of the long-standing Mission Hill facility to Alair Health Services, a New Jersey-based for-profit nursing home operator. The hearing lasted about an hour, and the message from the community members was very clear. People feel unheard and uneasy. Many expressed fears about losing the cultural legacy of a facility that has historically served Boston's Black and brown elderly residents since 1927. Concerns included the lack of transparency, fear that for-profit motives would reduce care quality, and frustration that the sale felt like a done deal without real opportunity for input. One family member called the process absolutely unacceptable, while another said they chose the Benjamin specifically because it wasn't run for profit. Alair has pledged to preserve the facility's culture and invest $2 to $4 million in renovations. But skepticism remains, especially in the wake of other troubled for-profit healthcare transitions in Massachusetts. The sale follows months of financial instability at the Edgar Benjamin, staff going unpaid, and the removal of former leadership by court order. A court-appointed receiver, Joseph Feaster, has backed Alair's bid, calling it the strongest option after dismissing 3 local groups that attempted a joint proposal, including the Mattapan Community Development Corporation and the facility's current medical director, Dr. Kenya Hansford. The Department of Public Health will now decide whether to approve the transfer, and if they do, the deal must be still cleared by the Attorney General's Public Charities Division. For now, the future of the Edgar Benjamin remains uncertain, and the community continues to push for accountability. Next, let's talk health insurance. Open enrollment is officially underway in Massachusetts, and despite a rocky year of federal policy changes, state and city officials are urging residents to get covered now. The enrollment window runs through January 23rd, but if you want your plan to kick in by January 1st, you'll need to choose and enroll by December 23rd. Jason LaFurs from the Massachusetts Health Connector says early action is key. There's a lot happening on the federal level that's causing concern. Enhanced subsidies created during the pandemic, which helped middle-income residents afford coverage, are set to expire at the end of the year. If Congress doesn't extend them, over 300,000 people in Massachusetts could see their premiums jump significantly. Immigrant families are also being impacted. A new law passed earlier this year under the Trump administration's budget bill removes subsidy access for lawfully present immigrants living under the poverty line, including many who currently qualify for free or low-cost plans. Despite all this uncertainty, city officials, including Boston's Public Health Commissioner, Dr. Bisola Ojikutu, are encouraging residents to reach out now and get help if they need it. There are navigators available statewide to walk people through the process, and Boston's mayor's health line at 617-534-5050 offers free multilingual help regardless of immigration status. Next up, Minyard Culpepper is headed to City Hall. The longtime pastor and attorney officially declared victory recently and becoming the next District 7 city councilor. Speaking to supporters at Hibernian Hall in Nubian Square, Culpepper called the win a community campaign, not just a political one, with people uniting from Roxbury, the South End, Dorchester, and Fenway to bring him across the finish line. Unofficial results show Culpepper took 53% of the vote, defeating opponent Saeed Ahmed by roughly 600 votes. Throughout the campaign, Culpepper focused on issues like housing access, public safety, and turning subsidized development into pathways to home ownership. He's also pushed for using Section 8 vouchers for mortgages and launching, quote, Culpepper says he'll be an independent voice on the council, working with the Wu administration where there's alignment, but not shying away from tough conversations. He specifically called out his opposition to the Blue Hill Avenue bus lane project, saying he's 100% against it. This race filled a seat left vacant after former councilor Tania Fernandez Anderson resigned and pled guilty to federal charges. It drew a crowded field of 11 candidates in the September prelim, where Ahmed narrowly came out ahead, but Culpepper gained momentum heading into the general election, picking up major endorsements from Senator Elizabeth Warren, Congresswoman Ayanna Pressley, the Boston Globe, and Herald, and multiple community groups. Still, some voters and advisory council members remain skeptical of both candidates, especially around issues like White Stadium redevelopment and ties to city leadership. Culpepper says he's listening. He plans to keep the District 7 Advisory Council, though likely with some changes. Culpepper won't be seated until January, but he's already hitting the ground running, meeting with residents to prepare. Quote, "This district is the heartbeat of the city. How this district goes, I think, will determine how the city goes," he said. Next up, Roxbury Works Conference, AI, Equity, and Hiring. In Roxbury, community leaders, educators, and workforce experts came together for the 4th annual Roxbury Works Conference, and this year, artificial intelligence took center stage. The event, held at Roxbury Community College, focused on expanding access to jobs in biotechnology, healthcare, and environmental technology, while also addressing the rapid changes AI is bringing to the workplace. Reverend Riley Baudrick of American City Coalition framed it very clearly. AI is transforming how we work, and Roxbury needs to be a part of that conversation. Speakers described AI as both an opportunity and a risk, especially for communities of color where algorithmic bias remains a real concern. Roxbury Community College President Jonathan Jefferson put it very simply, quote, "AI is here to stay, and it's our friend, and it's our enemy. So let's make it our frenemy." At the conference, leaders in the life sciences emphasized the growing need for cross-training, digital skills, and understanding how to use AI tools effectively. But they also highlighted other core abilities: critical thinking, communication curiosity, and knowing when something an AI gives you just doesn't look right. As one speaker noted, lived experience and healthy skepticism are real assets in this neighborhood. Despite the rise of automation, panelists agreed that AI can't replace everything. As Joseph Lay from Boston's Worker Empowerment Cabinet said, "AI can't rebuild the coastline, it's being fed." Human judgment still matters. The message throughout the conference was very clear as well. Economic development in Roxbury has to start with workforce development. That means helping residents access good jobs and stay rooted in their communities. The American City Coalition is even launching a new online mapping tool to connect residents with training programs, schools, and workforce resources. State Senator Liz Miranda underscored that companies often claim that they can't find talent, but she pushed back, saying the talent is right here in Roxbury, in Dorchester, in Hyde Park, and in JP. Panels also dug into equitable hiring, reskilling workers, and moving away from rigid degree requirements. Dana-Farber, for example, has removed college degree requirements for many roles that historically required them. Throughout the day, collaboration was the theme, with 18 partner organizations working together year-round. And for Reverend Baudrick, the goal is simple: seeing people go from community into opportunity. That's what Roxbury Works is about. Next up, Orchard Gardens seniors share a home-cooked Thanksgiving. At Orchard Gardens in Roxbury, the 4th floor community room was filled with warmth, laughter, and the smell of home-cooked food as seniors gathered on November 14th for their annual Thanksgiving celebration from 12:30 to 2:30. Residents lined the tables for mac and cheese, roasted chicken, mashed potatoes, sweet potatoes, pies, holiday mugs filled with candy, the works. It was less an event and more a family reunion. Orchard Gardens has 331 units, including 150 senior households, many of whom have lived in neighborhoods for decades. For them, this is a meal that is a tradition rooted in history and continuity, especially in a building that once housed the old Dearborn School. Generations of Roxbury kids learned in those classrooms, and now those same halls hold community meals and celebrations. Behind the food and the feeling is one person the seniors adore: Melissa Maharaj. She first connected with Orchard Gardens as a Northeastern student working with youth. In 2019, seeing how many seniors were isolated or without nearby family, she decided to cook a full Thanksgiving meal herself, and she's kept that tradition going ever since. Even during the pandemic, she cooked, packaged, and delivered meals door to door so no one felt forgotten. Today, she teams up with the Senior Services Coordinator, Tanya Rivera, who decorates the room, organizes desserts, and spreads the word. The partnership has turned this into a celebration that seniors ask about as early as mid-October. Rivera says what makes the meal special is simple. It's homemade, and it's made with love. For seniors who can't attend because of health or mobility issues, meals are set aside and delivered afterwards, so everyone is included. Inside the room, as dessert plates lingered and conversations flowed, many seniors shared memories of the neighborhood and their families. For some, it was one of the rare moments of comfort in a season that can be emotionally heavy. Amazing stuff over there.
Greetings, viewers, and welcome to The Intersection, the place where ideas, events, and policy come together to shape public health, safety, and vibrancy of our shared community. I'm your host, Suffolk County Sheriff Steve Tompkins, and together we'll examine a multitude of issues of interest as we travel along the many different avenues that make up The Intersection. It's just breakfast. That's how some might see it. But for a growing circle of men here in Boston, it's becoming something far deeper, a gateway to healing, brotherhood, and generational change. On May 11th, Breakfast for Brothers relaunched at the Reggie Lewis Track and Athletic Center. And while the concept is simple, hot food, round tables, and real conversation, the impact is anything but. Born in 2010, this initiative was created as a space for Black and brown men to connect across generations, to share wisdom, to listen, to be seen, and in doing so to dismantle the old harmful notions of masculinity that have left too many young men without guidance and too many communities without stability. As sheriff, I see firsthand how the absence of mentorship and affirmation can shape a young man's path, especially in our justice system. This isn't charity work. This is public safety work. This is community healing. Each gathering begins with a nourishing meal, followed by a real, raw dialect on wellness, fatherhood, identity, and legacy. It's about showing up and staying present. It's about letting young men know they're not alone, and they never were. There's a deep need for this. Loneliness among men is rising. Emotional isolation, structural inequities, and generational trauma are compounding crises. Breakfast for Brothers meets those head on, not with lectures, but with presence. Not with programs, but with people. This work echoes a timeless truth. Our greatest resource is each other. Mentorship doesn't have to be formal or perfect. Sometimes it's just a voice saying, "You matter," a hand on the shoulder, a shared meal, a birthday song that breaks down walls built over years of silence. With support from our office and community partners like Mamleo and Roxbury Community College, Breakfast for Brothers is building a foundation, a place where young men can find belonging and older brothers can reclaim their role as cultural stewards. By breaking bread together, we can change one room, one table, one life at a time. To hear from the program coordinators of Breakfast for Brothers themselves, read our story in The Intersection over in the Bay State banner. Scan the QR code or visit www.baystatebanner.com to read on. Thank you for tuning in, and as always, stay informed, stay involved. We'll see you the next time at The Intersection.
Next up, Housing Report Card shows ongoing challenges for renters and buyers. A new housing report card from Boston Indicators puts hard numbers behind something most Greater Boston residents already feel. Housing costs continue to rise faster than incomes, and access to both rental and home ownership remains deeply unequal. At the report's release on November 12th, the Boston Foundation CEO M. Lee Pelton said these trends aren't inevitable. They're the result of policy changes and can be changed with different priorities and investments. The report highlights several pressures: rising home prices, limited supply, and widening racial disparities. To afford a starter home in Greater Boston today, a family needs to earn more than $162,000 a year, up $64,000 since 2021. Home values are now 88% higher than they were in 2015, and in 36 cities and towns across the region, the median home price is above $1 million. On the rental side, about half of renting households are cost burdened, meaning they spend at least 30% of their income on rent. A quarter are severely cost burdened, and the weight falls heaviest on the residents of color. 56% of Black renters and 52% of Latino renters are cost burdened, compared to 46% of white renters. Vacancy rates remain extremely low, under 3%, which gives landlords more leverage and fewer options for prospective renters. Boston Indicators team notes this creates terrible conditions for many households trying to secure stable housing. The report also looks at the MBTA Communities Act, the 2021 law requiring towns served by the MBTA to create zoning for multifamily housing. While most of the 177 affected communities have complied, the impact varies widely. Only 9 municipalities upzoned any significant amount of single-family land, and 61% of all new zone capacity is concentrated in commercial or industrial areas. Experts warn that avoiding single-family neighborhoods may reinforce existing inequities. Some cities, like Lexington, initially proposed ambitious zoning plans, while others, like Needham, scaled theirs back after public pushback. Lieutenant Governor Kim Driscoll emphasized that the Healey-Driscoll administration supports the law as a key tool to create more housing near transit. The bottom line, Greater Boston has built new housing in recent years, but not nearly enough. And without major shifts in zoning and policy, affordability gaps and racial disparities could absolutely continue to grow. Next up, we got some love, health, and liberation, celebrated with the LGBTQ+ elders in Roxbury. At the Reggie Lewis Center, stories of resilience, humor, loss, and liberation took center stage as LGBTQ+ elders of color hosted their storytelling celebration, Love, Health, and Liberation. The November 16th event brought together people of all ages, honor Black and brown LGBTQ+ elders whose voices are often overlooked. The organization began in 2013 under the Multicultural AIDS Coalition, originally focused on supporting people affected by HIV and AIDS. Executive Director Gary Daffin says that mission continues today, especially as many older adults face isolation. Events like this, he said, give elders a rare space to connect and feel seen. 5 storytellers shared deep personal moments. Al Whitaker opened up with the day, unexpectedly, he learned he was HIV positive. And the moment he told himself he still had purpose. Sheikah Babin revisited her journey as a transgender woman in 1970s from Florida, being kicked out of her home to find strength and community in Massachusetts. Dr. Gary Bailey brought both laughter and reflection as he told the story of being locked out of a friend's apartment during the Pride weekend and being lowered down the side of a building on extension cords. His point, you never know someone's full story just by looking at them. Walter Danny Harris Jr. spoke about working at NASA, opening one of Boston's first Black-owned gay clubs and losing countless friends to AIDS, remembering their dreams even when the names have faded. And Aoife Franklin closed with a moment of hurt and healing after a friend played music with the N-word, reminding the room about the power of boundary setting and forgiveness. The program ended with a panel reflecting on legacy. Co-founder Paul Glass shared how he ended up at Stonewall riots. On a whim, he said, as a teenager, an experience that shaped his life. Today, he hopes gatherings like this help younger generations understand whose shoulders that they stand on. As for the elders, he said the goal is simple: combat isolation, build community, and create a space where people can show up and share their stories and get a hug. In our next story, we see the EPA announcing the Neponset Superfund cleanup plan. The Environmental Protection Agency has released its long-awaited plan to clean up pollution in the lower Neponset River, a major step for a waterway that's been unsafe for decades. Boating is allowed, but officials still warn against swimming, wading, or eating fish because of the contamination that dates back nearly a century. The riverbed contains PCBs, industrial chemicals used from the 1920s until they were banned in 1979. The site was designated a Superfund site in 2022, giving the EPA authority to lead the cleanup. After outlining 4 major options this summer, the agency chose the most comprehensive plan, the one that removes the bulk of contamination in a single effort. More than 100 public comments supported that approach. The EPA will remove contaminated sediment where PCB levels exceed 1 part per million, likely the top 3 feet of the riverbed, with deeper excavation if needed, and then cap the river with new material designed to stabilize the channel and protect against the remaining pollutants. A major element of the plan is removing the tile stone in Hollingsworth Dam, a deteriorating 1960s structure where contaminated sediment has collected. If the dam failed, that material could rush downstream, which the EPA warns could be catastrophic. Removing it also supports long-term restoration, including reopening historic fish migration routes. The nearby Baker Dam remains under discussion. Some residents have sentimental ties to it, but increased flooding has begun to shift community perspectives. The cleanup is estimated at $78.6 million, which could be paid by responsible parties or initially covered by the EPA. Design work will begin soon, with construction expected in late 2026 or early 2027 and lasting just under 4 years. For advocates who've been pushing for this for decades, the action memorandum marks real momentum and the start of a long overdue restoration. Next up, Sarah Roberts Elementary School. More than a century before Brown v. Board of Education, a 5-year-old girl from Boston challenged school segregation, and now her name is finally on a school. This fall, Roslindale opened the new Sarah Roberts Elementary School, honoring a child whose stand helped shift the national conversation on equal education. In the 1840s, Sarah Roberts lived in Boston's West End, but was forced to walk past 5 white-only schools to attend the A.B.L. Smith School, the city's segregated school for black children. Her father, Benjamin Roberts, pushed back, filing multiple requests for her to attend the nearest school. All were denied. So in 1848, he enrolled Sarah at an all-white Otis school. She managed to attend for 2 weeks before officials discovered she was black, and a police officer physically removed her from the building. Benjamin Roberts sued the city on her behalf, represented by Robert Morris, one of the first black lawyers in Massachusetts, and Charles Sumner. They argued that excluding Sarah violated state law, but in 1850, the state's highest court ruled against them, setting a precedent that would later justify segregation elsewhere. But the case ignited change. Just 5 years later, Massachusetts became the first state to outlaw school segregation. At the school's ribbon cutting on October 8th, Claire Galloway Jones, Sarah Roberts' descendant, reflected on her family's legacy. She said, Papa Benjamin was simply fighting for a fair chance, a fair choice, something later generations gained through programs like Metco. She added that the story hasn't received the recognition that it deserves, even though lawyers fighting Brown versus Board looked back to the Roberts case. She hopes students will understand that they're standing on the shoulders of people who fought for equality, and that this school brings that history to the forefront at last.
Check 1, 2. In Boston, the show goes on every night. Did you book your trip yet? Boston never gets old.
Next up, the mental health crisis facing young athletes. A heartbreaking story shook the sports world recently. Marshawn Kneeland, a 24-year-old defensive lineman for the Dallas Cowboys, took his own life just days after scoring a touchdown in a game against Arizona. It was the high point in his NFL young career, and it's now part of a growing pattern that mental health experts say we can't ignore. Kneeland is one of several young athletes lost to suicide in recent years, as we remember Aaron Hernandez. According to a study in the British Medical Journal, suicide is now the second leading cause of death among NCAA athletes, and rates have increased for both men and women over the last 20 years. One reason this issue is so difficult to address is that more than half of the U.S. suicides happen in people who have never been diagnosed with a mental illness. Many athletes, especially young ones, struggle silently with pressure, burnout, isolation, and a sense of falling short of expectations. Kevin McCarthy, a Boston-based clinical social worker who works with athletes, says many young players tie their entire sense of self-worth to their performance. Quote, when they fail to measure up to nearly impossible expectations from parents, coaches, or fans, they can't deal with the failure factor and start running from reality, he said. Experts stress that intervention, education, and prevention can save lives. Organizations like NDUR for athletes are pushing for earlier conversations and better support systems for players at all levels. For families, teammates, and communities left behind, the question is always the same. Why? And what more could we have done? It's a reminder that the young people we cheer for on the field need care, compassion, and connection off the field too. Next up in sports, Major League Baseball celebrates its best. MLB packed out Las Vegas for its postseason awards, highlighting the biggest performers of 2025 with Aaron Judge, Shohei Ohtani, Paul Skeens, and Tarik Skubal leading the night. In the American League, Aaron Judge won his third MVP after a near triple crown season, a .331 average, 53 home runs, and 114 RBIs. He edged out Seattle's Cal Raleigh, who hit 60 homers, but the gap is batting average, 331 to 237. And Judge's rare combo of a batting title with 50-plus home runs decided it. In the National League, Shohei Ohtani claimed his fourth MVP and third straight with 55 home runs, 146 runs scored, and a 2.87 ERA. He remains the only player ever to win multiple MVPs in both leagues, all unanimously. On the pitching side, Paul Skeens captured his first Cy Young with a 1.97 ERA and 216 strikeouts, becoming just the third pitcher to earn Rookie of the Year and a Cy Young in his first 2 seasons. In the American League, Tarik Skubal secured his second straight Cy Young, posting a 13-6 record, 241 strikeouts, and a 2.21 ERA, solidifying his reputation as baseball's top starter. The night rounded out with Gold Gloves, Silver Sluggers, and more. Red Sox standouts Kadane Rafaela and Wilyer Abreu earned defensive honors. Aroldis Chapman won AL Reliever of the Year, and Ohtani picked up his 5th straight Outstanding DH award, tying David Ortiz. Judge and Ohtani also repeated as Hank Aaron Award winners. Rookie of the Year went to Drake Baldwin of the Braves and Nick Kurtz of the Athletics, and Mookie Betts took home the Roberto Clemente Award for Community Impact. A full night and a reminder of how much star power is still driving the modern game. Next up, a tribute to MIT legend Larry Anderson. If you ask who the winningest men's basketball coach in MIT history is, the answer is simple. Larry Anderson. After 30 years leading the Engineers, Anderson, the quiet, steady presence who arrived from Rust College in 1995, has retired, leaving behind one of the most remarkable coaching legacies in Division III basketball. His path to MIT is a story of unexpected turns. Anderson grew up in Noxubee County, Mississippi, one of 20 siblings, learning early how to navigate personalities and hardships. His mother pushed him to stay in school, and mentors like coaches Willie Triplett and Richard Mathis opened the doors to his basketball future. He played at East Mississippi Junior College, then Rust College, where he became captain, as he did on every team in his career. After college, Anderson stayed on a Rust as an assistant coach, associate athletic director, and director of student activities. At just 25, he was elected an alderman, steering his life toward public service. But in his early 30s, a chance phone call changed everything. MIT wanted to interview him for its head coaching job. Anderson literally pulled the job ad out of the trash, filled out the application, and flew to Boston. He got the job, and the rest is MIT history. His impact went far beyond the court. Anderson's philosophy centered on building straight-A students, ball players, and overall people. His teams achieved a 100% graduation rate, something almost unheard of in college athletics. Larry Anderson leaves MIT not just as its winningest coach, but as a mentor, a builder of character, and a leader who shaped generations. Next up, Herbie Hancock lit up the Wang Theater last month with a performance that was nothing short of transcendent. Now in his 7th decade of public performance, the jazz icon brought what one writer called contemporary artistry at its peak, an awe-inspiring mix of musicianship, spiritual reflection, and genre-defying brilliance. His all-star lineup, including Terrence Blanchard on the trumpet, James Genus on bass, Lionel Luque on guitar and vocals, and Jalen Pintenaud on drums. Using a vocoder to deliver an AI robot-style monologue, Herbie challenged the audience to embrace empathy, ethics, and unity, warning against fear of technology and urging compassion instead. From his days with Miles Davis to MTV-era hip-hop and Buddhist-inspired global collaborations, Hancock has redefined what it means to be a musician. He's won Grammys, Oscars, and Kennedy Center honor, and most recently, the Polar Music Prize. But more than awards, what stands out is his generosity of spirit. As he once wrote in an open letter with fellow legend Wayne Shorter, "You matter. Your actions matter. Your art matters. The world needs a humanistic awakening. Focus on becoming the best human that you can be." That's Herbie Hancock, jazz icon, high priest of music, still showing us what greatness sounds and feels like. In our last story, we remember the lives of Paul Tagliabue and Lenny Wilkens, two giants in American sports. Paul Tagliabue and Lenny Wilkens passed away on the same day, November 9th. Tagliabue was 84, Wilkens was 88. Starting with Paul, he became NFL commissioner in 1989, stepping into a league still recovering from years of labor disputes under Pete Rozelle. Tagliabue, a labor lawyer, brought a calm, diplomatic style. One of his first moves was reaching out to Gene Upshaw at the NFL Players Association, signaling that cooperation, not conflict, was the way forward. Under Tagliabue, the NFL grew rapidly. New stadiums, major TV deals, and almost 2 decades without a work stoppage. But his tenure is also marked by the league's early dismissal of concussion and CTE research, something he apologized for in 2017. This man was inducted into the Pro Football Hall of Fame in 2020. And then Lenny Wilkens, a legend in every sense. From being cut from his high school team to becoming an NBA top 75 player, a Hall of Famer as both player and a coach, and mentors to generations. Writer Jimmy Myers knew him closely and describes him as a soft-spoken, first-class teacher of the game. Wilkens coached the Seattle Supersonics through the heartbreak and triumph, losing a painful Game 7 in 1978, then winning the NBA championship the very next year. He later coached the original 92 Dream Team and again led Team USA to gold in 96. Players consistently called him a gentleman and a leader. Seattle even built a statue in his honor. But as Myers writes, no statue can ever match his impact. 2 different sports, 2 incredible lives. One day marking the loss of both. May Paul Tagliabue and Lenny Wilkens rest in peace. That's a wrap for this week's Bay State Banner Weekend Review. Thanks for tuning in on another exciting week. My name is Berger Williams, and I will see you all next time.